will come in. Allie said the screen's a little frozen. So, well, hello, welcome to our first meeting of the year. Does everyone know Margaret? She's our she's now an HCPI as minority leader, so she's joining us tonight.
Good job. Well done. But now I do.
This is, if you haven't met Jeff.
Hi, how are you?
Ron. No, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay, and now this guy. Yeah. Cool. And Allie is online. Yeah. There's an agenda there if you want.
That's for you.
2 pages.
Allie and Ron, one of those hands raised, Allie?
Wait, I'm sorry. I did not mean to do that.
Hello, this is Ron. I did mean to do it. I'm having a problem with my video. It's not running properly. There's a kind of repetition loop. People
Yeah,
are,
that's what I'm seeing too.
Yeah.
Michelle is raising her hand over and over again.
Okay. I'm turning the camera off and I'm going to turn it back on. Because that seems to fix everything, right?
It could have some of those problems. with it.
Oh yeah, that worked.
That works? Okay. Cool. Thank you guys.
Yep.
So we have a quorum. I'm going to take official attendance. So just say present if you're here. Allie Edwards.
Present.
Usha Berlin.
Here.
Tom DiPietro.
Here.
Jeff Dodson.
Here.
Nick Zackos.
Here.
And Rebecca Wolf. Here. Thank you. So we got a big agenda. First off, let's just do some updates. So HCPI, they have new board members. So the mayor, Ravonda, and Teresa are the same. And Dominic is the same. The only change is that Margaret is the new minority leader. Majority leader, my bad. Replacing Ryan Wallace. So she's now on the board. And so HCPA is now meeting on the 4th Thursday of the month at 4 p.m. And so that's also why we're moving our date so that we can have a little more space between the 2 meetings. This way I can send them things in time, prepare resolutions, etc. The last meeting, Nick, Usha, and Rebecca's terms are all renewed. Jeffrey and Tom, your ex officio, and Allie's term wasn't up yet. So congrats on your 2nd term.
So Dominic's not on there.
Yes, he is. Because he is the minority leader.
It's both majority minority? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it was Dominic and Ryan before.
Okay.
Gotcha. So that's big update about committees meeting. Other big update is that the city has begun our comprehensive plan process. So we selected Public Works as the consultant. We are about to kick off steering committees. You all will be looped in for, I'll tell you guys about when we have like general public engagement events. So you can attend, but also so if you want to share that with your, your networks. Also, if you guys have ideas, feedback when it comes to some of the participation pieces we're doing. And then also I'll see about at some point they might want to speak with y'all to kind of get your input on some of the housing specific pieces on the plan. So just know that's kicked off and is moving ahead. So moving to committee reports. The 2 active committees we have is like the fundraising and the strategic planning. So I'll just say for strategic planning, we basically, the goal was to kind of think about long-term, what does funding and operating and governance look like for the Housing Trust Fund, and the short-term, what are some of the programs and projects we want to do this year? I have a pretty decent draft of kind of a summary of all of our data and programs. It hasn't been finalized yet, but we'll get there. Dustin, unfortunately, he's got too many commitments to join again, but he gave me a really nice debrief in December, kind of shared his thoughts for strategic planning, and his thoughts were just keep it simple. And really focus on 1 or 2 goals a year in terms of like program and funding, and not try and overstretch with policy and outreach and a lot of things like that, as we are kind of a small volunteer group. So I think that was good advice. And we'll talk a little bit more about programs as we get farther into the agenda tonight. And the other thing that helps helpful with the comprehensive planning is that the group's also doing a lot of housing data and kind of like demographic and population predictions. So we'll also be able to look at some of that this year too, and thinking more about like, thinking about what kind of projects we want to really be trying to make happen, initiate in the coming years. So, in terms of fundraising, I'm turning it over to Rebecca and Usha.
Hello. Well, so Usha and I had several productive meetings towards the end of 2023, and plotted out who we should be approaching, and mostly focusing on starting out with banks, local banks. So we made some approaches, and I drafted a kind of just like a pitch note to a bunch of different, the banks all have different kinds of foundation, like charitable arms of them, and some of them have community liaisons. And I had, minimal response, I would say, but probably not surprising for the first go around. I also reached out to the hospital with this pitch, and didn't hear back.
Who did you reach out to?
For Margaret's sake, you had a pamphlet that you designed too.
Oh, well, yeah, yes.
I'm just here to listen, because I'm trying to figure out the
No,
relationship.
I understand. I wanted you to know about that, that's all.
Yeah, there's a great pamphlet that just lays out like what this is, what it's for, what our goals are, and it also, it's pretty specific to trying to raise
Where
support.
would I find that?
I will give you one
Oh,
or three. We didn't make that many because it's a pretty specific, like, but I will definitely hand them to you. And so, yeah, so I can't remember the name of the person that I contacted at the hospital, but I can show you all those emails.
Sure.
And yeah, it's about time to kind of like revisit and return to, we did, I believe, we did get a small grant from Trust Co. courtesy of Usha with the personal connection there. And it's not going to be a lot of money, but it's like a nice way to begin.
Do you
And
know how much?
I think it's $2,500.
Oh,
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Thank
Good job. Great job.
Yeah.
this is the person.
So you guys are a great team. So that, right, so I've been speaking with Chris Chao, who's the attorney for HCPI, about what's the steps for accepting that donation, which is why I haven't gotten back to Karen, which I will tomorrow. And basically, I'm gonna have to ask her for some documentation, HCPI, I'll send that to HCPI, because they have to vote to formally accept the funds for the Housing Trust Fund. I don't know if this is necessary, but just I don't know, just in case, do you guys want to just say that you vote to accept the funds into the Housing Trust Fund, so we have that on record?
I make a motion to accept the funds into the Housing Trust Fund. Second.
Second? Okay, all in favor, say yes.
Aye.
5, any opposed? Oh, okay, thank you.
And the only thing I would add just is that when we did, like, that was the one where we were able to make immediate face-to-face contact, which was definitely a good thing. And when we did, the person who, she's sort of the officer who kind of handles community giving, she made it seemed really clear that there's this kind of, community of funders that if we can get onto that list and radar, like it'll be relatively easy to.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The other banks, once they hear that,
Mhm.
might be interested.
Yeah, and they also clearly wanted us to have a party where they could come to.
Oh, yes.
Should we have some kind of community outreach.
That's like a major demand.
We don't have any roads to cut.
Just, cocktails with the housing trust fund.
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you very much. That's awesome. And I think also if they have advice on like, yeah, how to approach other things. I know you got to contact,
The Bank of Green County.
yeah, I don't think she's there anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, asked her around and I think she's left. But if anyone else has contacts at banks or know people, so thank you.
If you want to have a little kind of cocktail party, the Spark Building's ready for that kind of thing,
Is it?
pretty much.
Say that once again, please.
The Spark Building on the roof.
Oh,
Have a event sort of space,
okay,
and they would give it to us for free, I'm pretty sure.
okay.
We should do that. And then we could invite the other banks to come.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a good idea.
Good bidding war going,
Yeah.
Yeah,
donations coming in.
awesome. Anything else from anything?
No, I mean, we could take up, like other people, individuals.
Yes. We haven't made those, well, I did approach, should I say names of people?
I don't know, if you think if
I
you
mean,
don't
one
wanna be
approach
approached,
to
then-
a major, capitalist. And he indicated that he was sort of all full up, but he would be interested in talking in the future.
Cool.
The other thing to keep in mind is for context, the Housing Trust Fund is seeded from a grant from Enterprise. And it's at a decreasing rate for each year. There's less money for the general budget. And so we've been looking for donations. But also the plan has been for seeking increase in lodging tax to potentially put into that. I just think it make good faith.
Well, in general, I've not been in favor of allocating taxes, only because I think every budget season, it should be, it kind of eliminates the democratic process of allocating money. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well,
But on the other hand,
I mean, it's still allocating money. It's just, I suppose that you could also look at it like if there is an allocation made, that allocation could always be overturned, right?
It would have to be overturned then by. it would
By
have
the
to be-
democratic process.
Right. True. But to have it automatically sort of eliminates, yeah, I see both sides.
I mean, I think what's really, maybe a thing to really think about is the precedent for that exact relationship
Mhm.
in many municipalities. It's just like, it's pretty like, it's a relationship there.
I know, but I just feel, I did make a big stink about it going automatically to tourism based on that principle, getting rid of that, remember?
Well, but I guess I just don't know if it was based entirely only on that principle or if it was also sort of like,
It was both. I mean, I didn't see it being necessary. You're right. I mean, the endpoint's different. I think this deserves it. I didn't think tourism, whatever that was supposed to be, was appropriate. But anyway,
the other thing to think about is that it's hard to plan these different projects.
I don't know. Yeah.
You have no idea. If there's kind of like maybe the budget might be this up or down by this much, that's one
Mhm.
thing, but it's like, it could be totally gone. And also the other thing to think about is different is that my salary is attached to it.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about long term in terms of like, what does that mean? So if that's not the option, then we have to like think about what is the long-term funding source.
Right.
So.
Can I ask an informational question? So when we went through the BEA process, there were certain allocations to trust fund, correct?
Mhm.
Is this a new thing, or is there already something?
No, there's nothing. This would be, what we're talking about is whether, we're looking for an increase in the lodging tax.
Right now,
There's nothing there now.
Right, so the point of information, right now, there is no direct flow from lodging tax. And what did go was what was discussed in the DEA process, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
So yes, that's something to think about for this year. Yeah. Okay, moving on to new business. we need a chair. As per the bylaws, we need to have a chair just to run the meeting. I kind of perform the secretary-ish duties, organize notes. We don't need a treasurer since HCPA handles the financials, but we need a chair. Anyone like to volunteer or have anyone?
Because you're so good at it.
Well, I thought,
I would like to make a nomination.
Okay.
I would like to nominate Jeffrey Dodson as
I
the
second
chair,
that.
if he's willing.
I was assuming I couldn't actually, but okay.
I think you're, there's no rules.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Tom actually already served a brief term. I think Rebecca was chair briefly. for that. Yeah.
Was Nick chair?
No, I was never the chair.
I think you had work, we had like a
Really?
beginning, we moved around.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
well, at least I remember you.
I'll put that on my resume.
I remember you running the meeting.
But Jeffrey was never chair. So we have, the floor is
Yeah,
open
that's
for
the point.
nominations. Would anyone else like to volunteer be nominated? Okay, we're gonna hold a vote. We've had a first and a second. If you were in favor of Jeffrey being chair, you can vote aye.
I guess I'll. vote for myself.
There you go.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. Jeffrey's new chair. We can kind of discuss what that means in terms of meeting management.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, so we've got two more things, well, three more things in new business. So two potential resolutions. The first one is about Hudson Roofs. So I had a general comment and then a very specific ask. So the specific ask is that HCPA already approved the contract for 2024. It's for the $50,000 for the program as we put in our budget. The contract said that there would be two installments, so half in January, half in July. Joan Hunt asked if it's possible to receive the second installment in February. It just makes it much easier for them for budgeting, having the funds on hand already. Because instead of getting it later, wondering if anyone has any pushback to that.
What was the reason for chopping it up into two?
I think it was more from like a, I don't know, I think it might have been a suggestion from Chris, but there was no clear reason to chop it up.
I guess my first thought is just, there's not really a reason not to.
Yeah.
Right. That's, yeah.
And not changing the amount,
No.
just changing the timing that's allocated. I don't see any problem.
And the thing, to be fair with them, we have been late with it sometimes, because if HCPA gets canceled, it takes a while to reschedule.
Right, yeah.
And then if the treasurer or Sarah or someone wasn't around to sign it, they received their funds late a couple times, so I think also,
That's probably difficult.
That's, yeah.
yeah. So if we vote to say yes, then we would, give that recommendation to HCPA and they would vote on that next week. So.
Your motion?
Yeah.
A motion to,
Advance, the remaining funds of Hudson Roofs to Promise Neighborhoods, this
Oh,
month.
it's still remaining.
Yeah,
for February.
yeah.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
I can't vote on that.
Okay. So you want to ask question?
Recusal.
Recusal, okay. Let me make a note of that. Ally, are you still with us?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, we're voting on, advancing the remaining funds of Hudson Roofs. Are you?
Yeah, I heard that. I'm in agreement.
Great, thank you.
Hmm?
Okay, and were there any nays? Okay, cool, then we will, give that recommendation to HCPI. Thank you. Next item on new business, so this was the, what I sent you was proposing to use $15,000 from our, we have a $100,000 budget line for programs, that anything that falls within our bylaws for this year. And this is to supplement our CDBG low-income homeowner rehab grant. So we are very close to the finish line and wrapping up all the projects. there's been a couple change orders that are beyond the budget scope of work, so a boiler broke. There was a sinking floor that was worse than we thought. And there was some electrical work that was pretty expensive, and so the projects, we went with, did a lot of work to find bidder, we got good prices, but we're a little short of funds. So the proposal is to take $15,000 from the Housing Trust Fund, and it would go to the city of Hudson to reimburse the city of Hudson for remaining funds for the CDBG grant. So any questions, comments, thoughts about that?
So you're just saying, just to recap, you said basically one of the projects went a little bit over budget.
All of the projects.
All of them.
Yeah, and it's the thing where you have the scope of work, and then the construction costs have gone up since then, and then also over winter, the big storm caused some flooding and stuff, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this would just be filling that gap.
Mhm. Yeah,
I make a motion to authorize the $15,000 from the trust fund, be allocated in support of the CDBG housing rehab project.
Second. Oh, you have a question?
I was just gonna
Yeah.
question, we absolutely need to pay. I'm just wondering if there's anywhere else than out of the small budget, already small budget to pay for it from.
yeah, so
Any other
the,
ways to do that? I'm sure you've thought of that.
I tried 2 places. So I spoke with Columbia Opportunities multiple times about their weatherization program. One of the problems is that their, we designed this program to be as few hoops as possible to jump through. It's still a lot of hoops because it's a federal funded program. The weatherization program had a different income requirements and more hoops to jump through, let's say. And so we weren't able to match up because of the paperwork, which is a bummer because they're actually have funds that they have been able to spend.
Is it a matter of the process taking longer?
No, it's a matter of the way that we qualify people to be eligible, but their income level is different than how they do for
I
theirs.
see.
And so people's incomes are a little higher than their program.
So they wouldn't qualify.
Yeah,
Understood.
sorry. You said it much more directly than I did. Sorry, I
It's okay.
not directed that. So that's the unfortunate part. The income eligibility. And then spoke with Galvin, and they want like a 50% match from homeowners to get funds,
Mhm.
and the homeowners don't have that.
They don't have it, right? That's the part of the point of the program.
So those, if you have ideas for other people.
Would they do a 50% match with the city to pay this difference?
So that's a good question. When I spoke with them last, and it's a little difficult because they've changed staff a lot.
Yeah.
And then they wanted the homeowner to go through the whole application process with them from the beginning of all this training and getting all the bank statements and everything. So
So even though we would be taking the 15,000 from the $100,000 budget, we can always enhance the budget later on if we need.
I was gonna say, can we ask for that?
Of course.
Right, and the fundraising to go to that,
Yeah.
or if somebody's, what Nick is suggesting, if it's able to happen, maybe it can happen after the fact, but it'll be to replenish those funds.
Well, I guess is there a follow-up question would be, has the city of Hudson already paid this? No.
no, we haven't. We know that certain projects, so basically, we have the scope of work that was agreed upon with the contractor, and then the house has to get inspected by Craig from code enforcement to get, approval before the project's done. And the scope of work, we have all the funds for it there, but now these new things have happened, and the houses aren't gonna get approved by Craig, they're not up to.
You're waiting for their CFO.
Yeah, and some of them, some of the projects, we've moved the funds around, so we finished up 3 of the projects, and
Okay,
then 2 of them yeah, like they're not done yet, so the work hasn't happened
So,
yet,
and that's depending on this.
yeah.
Okay. So it is there, it's time dependent then.
Yeah, and I think that this has been a huge learning experience for me, this grant. For me, and I think honestly for like all the parties involved, and I think that I know I have more understanding about how to leverage the other funds in the future. And so, for example, like designing the paperwork so that it can match seamlessly with Columbia Opportunities, like stuff like that is gonna be really helpful in the future. And I think also I've learned a lot of that things just about some of the scopes of work and bundles and projects and things that'll help in the future. But yeah, right now we've got some literal holes that need to be filled. So,
Okay, I withdraw my question and then you can continue with the.
Well, I put the motion out.
And that's second.
were there any other comments or questions though?
But can Columbia Opportunities be asked in a different way? If they have this money, they
Yeah.
need to spend it.
Yeah, I think, let me reach out to them again and see how they're doing with their application list and if there's something we do to spread the word about it, if they still have the funds. That's a good reminder for me, yeah. I think I don't know when the funding window closes, but I think all we can do for now is just advertise the program to people.
The Columbia Opportunity.
Yeah, the winterization program, yeah.
Yeah.
You vote?
Yes, all right, so we have a first and a second, all in favor for allocating $15,000 from our housing trust fund to City of Hudson for the finishing of the community development block grant program. All in favor? Okay, different hands up. Nick? Yeah. Tom, yes, Jeff?
Yes.
Rebecca, yes, Keisha, yeah, okay. Ally, if you're with us, would you like to vote?
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, 6 in favor.
Let's not forget about that budget season.
Yeah. So yeah, when this is done, I wanted to get a debrief with all the parties involved and get a sense of like what to do moving forward, but just keep it.
So are we still under the, rule that it always has to then be approved by HCDPA?
Yeah,
Okay.
so then so this is why having a week is good, because then I can type up the minutes and
Got
ask
it.
everybody tomorrow. Okay, so Ally has to leave. Thank you, Ally. So on to new business number, letter D, 2024 goals. So we discussed the lodging tax. So in terms of priority projects, so we had that 100,000, 15,000 is, tentatively allocated. So that leaves us about 85 to think about a big project we might want to do for this year. I'll open up for ideas for how you want to think about that. Yeah, sure.
I'm just wondering if there's anything that we can do around Section 8.
Maybe.
It's a broad question, like, that I have, is like, is there anything that we could do to either promote the program to landlords? Or like facilitate
Engagement.
engagement, or supporting current tenants in Section 8 housing, or supporting landlords, although, you know what I mean, like with access to programs that they might not have access to. I don't know a lot about the Section 8 program, but I know like HHA is the administrator of the program.
Mhm.
And I guess, yeah, so I'm just sort of wondering like I mean, I know it's really tough around here to get landlords to,
What's the specific problem you're trying to solve?
I mean, ideally, the specific problem would be how to promote it to landlords so that they would be more likely
To
to
get
want.
more landlords to,
How to get more landlords involved. right?
Yeah,
Which would be to, I mean, to increase engagement, have a conversation with landlords, which is actually something I want to do, to tell them more about our program, talk about possible incentives, and invite them to the program. Actually, what may be another help is there are some housing authorities that do, and it doesn't necessarily have to come through the housing authority, but this could be an arm of it, where our potential residents are certified in different areas, which would make them, the idea is it will make them more attractive to landlords because they would have like a tenant landlord rights certification, income management certification, housekeeping certification, those components to make them attractive tenants. And once we would help the landlord understand that they've gone through that program and they see that, it can be successful, it would maybe help them be more accepting of residents or applicants. So if something could be done to help facilitate that type of program, because we have something small like that, but it takes too long to do it. I know other agencies kind of fast track it. If we can do it in because tenants are gonna have, or applicants are gonna have to participate. If they can get a certificate within 2 months' time, and even some of the landlords that have expertise in certain areas, they can participate in that. It may help them, participate in the program, or kind of having the feeling that they're gonna get a tenant that's going to take care of their property, and treat it.
So who normally does this interviewing or whatever it takes? Who would do the interview? How do you, what's the process for certifying a tenant?
Well, we don't have a program. We want to create the program.
Right.
We have something small like it now that a person in the
What would you-
office
Right.
created, but I know other places that do it. And I can check with them. It's in Alabama. And they have a whole certification process. It really does well. And they bring in landlords. All their staff have to learn it. They actually make the landlords go through the process so that they can see it's a real program and it's bona fide. And it's been proven successful for them. So I do have a contact. I can ask them for some more information about it. But if we can help set that up, because a large part of our problem for all residents is housekeeping, money management, those type of things. Again, if a landlord understands that applicant knows that it's a priority, it may make it more attractive to them, even though they don't have the right technically by law to avoid Section 8 tenants, but we know what they do. So
I have a bunch of thoughts. So first one is this something that requires funding or just like time, willpower?
I would say time and willpower. Funding may be we do something with refreshments for landlords or whatever, something, I don't think it would require a lot. It shouldn't, I'm certain we can use stuff in the building to help demonstrate on how to clean your stove, how to clean your tub, what kind of cleaning products to use. We would probably be able to get the bank on board to do, what do you call it? Some type of money management certification. But we don't want them to just teach it. We want them to have like a certificate of completion that they've mastered this part of the program.
So we follow, sorry. real quick.
No.
So first,
It's a great idea.
one thing to Rebecca's point, I know that the Columbia Green Board of Realtors has been a lot more interested in getting involved with thinking about how to serve the community better and like lower income residents. And this could be something where they might be a good partner.
Columbia Green what? Board of Realtors?
Yeah, it's that building on not Fairview.
Right up Fairview.
Yeah.
Sort of snuck in behind. Yeah.
Okay.
But the chair of the DI board, he's like very active. Second thought is, one thing I think about is things that these have some specifics. So I think general programs that people from Greenport come to is cool, whatever, but in terms of just remembering that like we have to limit that. The third thing is kind of a very cynical, to what extent does outrage and certifications matter to landlords who can make rent way above fair market rent?
Excellent.
Totally, and I mean, I know, so I guess part of my idealism is that possibly there could be some kind of marketing angle on this, like marketing values, like marketing, like there are families, like how about you try supporting families? Like, you know, like, I mean, we all know the chain of like attrition of people not being able to send kids to school here because there isn't place to have, you know, that will take, you know what I'm saying? Like the whole sort of thing. I feel like, I don't know, it might be just a dream, but it did seem like if there's enough people in the city who actually might be receptive to caring about things like that, like that with the right, like marketing materials, there could be a pitch, basically.
Come on in, Sue.
Am I welcome?
Yes.
I was just listening to you on the
No.
radio.
You heard me a slow down?
Yeah, I did.
I'm not gonna stay long. I gotta make chicken meatballs. I just wanna give the geese or something.
Oh, thank you.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Good night.
Maybe,
What a co-host.
I know, right? I can't, I thought-
lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
Maybe the focus should just be on engagement in terms of helping, and they may not even care, but helping landlords understand the plight of people that they don't help.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not a popular
Right.
approach to try to like make people feel guilty, but I don't know, it's so
Well,
desperate.
I don't know if you want to make it, I mean, I wouldn't. be
Well, you know what I
You're just
mean,
talking,
right, I'm
you're
just saying,
giving them a real shot of what, I mean, I would formulate it, and this is how it could benefit you. You know, you're gonna get a steady stream of income, at least from.
And that's the usual like section
Right.
8
Right.
pitch is like, that's the
Guaranteed.
main
Right.
thing, is that the government is paying part of the rent.
Right.
I think there's a lot of turnover in some of the higher end apartments in Hudson, based off just my constant patrolling of Zillow rental. I can see a lot of the same things come back all the time.
Yeah.
But just in terms of the idea, I don't know if that'll be the project yet, but I'd like to, you know, along with whomever else in the group, or we can even have them here, talk with the board of realtors and see how they, because that's another thing, and Nick asked me about that, can we get a pool of landlords at least that are interested? And that way we can, I can't steer people towards it per se, but I can say, here's a list of possible available units, check them out.
And something to, like, this is a little bit longer term, but the county, like the county housing task force is applying for an ADU grant. So if you're not familiar, accessory dwelling unit, like another small apartment that's attached or in the backyard.
All right.
We're thinking about zoning for that in Hudson, because it's not always, not allowed in all our zoning. But it's also something that has to be kept affordable, and it could be something where you have some new landlords who are getting funding for this apartment. They don't quite know how to even look for tenants, how to be a landlord. It could be a good place to kind of join up. Here's section 8. It's going to be a brand new construction or rehab job, so.
I don't know if you remember, Rebecca, but you sent to me long ago a project somewhere, I think in Oregon, where they were incentivizing ADU development. It sort of kind of would work with this. Remember that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, yeah, those were like, the construction was, are you talking about the one where the builder had a whole sort of
Right,
package?
you got a package from the bank.
Yeah.
If you kept your rent a certain way and,
And section 8 can still benefit,
right.
as well as the landlord.
Mhm.
So that would be a good project to the extent it's on a larger scale, and, you know, it would incentivize a group of different people to work together.
The first thing we need to do is get the zoning.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
But it's
But
something
I
a
like
little
the idea.
longer term, like not like medium term.
I don't think it's gonna be a hard, what do they say, hard lift, heavy lift to change the zoning. I
It's
mean,
gonna take a long time, right?
Shouldn't, I mean, unless there's gonna be serious opposition, I can't picture serious opposition, like.
Yeah.
What's the advantage of keeping the kind of zoning we have, not a lot. Certainly not if we want growth.
Well, it isn't the zoning overhaul part of the comprehensive.
Yes,
It is, yeah, we're also looking at if there can be some small amendments to, perhaps get some changes made earlier than that. I have some other ideas throughout there, but I mean, I also want to offer ideas or thoughts.
I was just wondering, have you picked apart, Hochul's housing initiative with all of the millions of dollars going into all these buckets?
Do you mean the housing community?
Yes.
Yes, so we have submitted our like letter of intent to apply, and basically we're waiting for them to create the portal for us to submit our stuff. Craig very kindly poured through our building data with me, and so we should be, there's like two paths to pro housing. One is you've had enough new building permits that you get it automatically. The other is you don't have enough new building permits and you have to pass a resolution.
Okay.
We should have enough building permits,
Yeah.
simply because of Depot District alone.
Yeah.
So once we're waiting on the state to send us the portal, basically to submit that to, and then we should be able to get the posting out information.
There was a very detailed presentation on that at NICOM last week.
Yeah.
You should be able to get access to the slide deck.
Okay.
But from some of the criteria that they were laying out,
Mhm.
it did appear to me that we already met the criteria.
Mhm.
Because there were two different ways that they were calculating it.
Yeah.
One was based upon increasing, percent increases in the last year and percent increases in the prior 3-year period.
Yeah.
So it's, from what they presented, it did seem to us that we were probably already qualified.
Agreed, yeah.
And that it's critical because you have to be certified to be eligible for any of the funding.
Yeah. The downside is that a lot of those grants don't even apply to us, but unlike.
Why?
So some of them are for only downstate, like New York City region and Hudson. Some of them, the DRI, the big one, we already won that one. But some of the like Empire State Development ones, we do apply, like Restore. And then I'm also hoping, like, if we can also think of ones that we want to be on there, like maybe, talk with Henchy and Dee about like, can this be expanded to kind of help our communities more? Yeah, a lot of this geographically, Columbia County is kind of cut out of,
Really?
yeah. There's a program that I want to get extended up here. It stops at the Duchess line. That I want to see if they could extend us into it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
and actually, it was really funny when Hochul tried to put through that requirement, for whatever it was, 1%, 3%. If our projects go through, we're like way beyond
Yes.
that requirement.
Yeah.
So,
I was just looking at the overall, like the big picture things of the housing compact before, and I have it. 250 million for infrastructure upgrades for existing housing, 20 million for planning and technical assistance for local rezoning.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's too late for us to apply for funds
Well,
to,
we'll need, once you get the comp plan passed, we still need another
Yeah.
consultant to do the
Right.
do the
rezoning.
actual zoning.
Yeah.
15 for statewide data collection, 4 million to create a new housing planning office, 40 million lead exposure. It just goes on and on and on of all the millions.
Yeah.
Part of what I'm thinking is just like, the right people can look at all that stuff, see what we're eligible for.
Yeah.
And it may take money to get out and develop the strategies to go after
Yeah,
that money, which is just gonna be huge over the next
yeah,
10 years. Between now and 2030, they're really just trying to make this a huge priority. How can we, in a housing crisis, benefit
right,
from that?
yeah.
And so I don't have the specific thing, but that's what, when I saw that, that's what I thought, how, we're right here. Sounds like maybe there's ways that we're not unfortunately eligible,
I
but
think I think it's also like interesting, I'll get back on target, that just the lag between what comes out of the governor's office and then when you see the money from HCR. So Homes and Community Renewal is the one who gives all the housing grants, and it's like some of the funds we've gotten are from the 2007, 2008 financial crisis, like some of the bank settlements are like, so the ADLN enterprise grant that we have for the housing trust fund came from that. and that's 2007, 2008, now it's 2024. And so some of these things, like,
Right.
we might not actually see the funding for a while, but like, I think we're doing all the right things to be poised for it.
Gotcha.
You're still haven't gotten reimbursed for any DRI stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Seriously.
Seriously.
We
Oh,
haven't-
really?
We haven't done ours yet.
Yeah,
So.
and, not only that, but when you bond for it,
We should-
they don't cover the interest.
No way.
Way. Wow, it's ridiculous.
One quick thing, it's still also not a fully formulated thought, but one thing that I saw that Kingston did with the ADUs that I thought was great was they did a design competition
Mhm.
for ADUs that, and I looked at their website and they had them all up there, the winner and all the things. They were amazing ideas, for all these units. And that's a really cool way to get the community excited about it. So if you could mix that with, yes, and then there's an incentive to do section 8 in there, and you could really be like, this is not like some negative thing, putting people in your house that you're worried about having there. This is like, build this new thing, give somebody a house or a place to live and, you know, create income, do all this stuff. That could be really, we don't need to imitate them, but do something along those lines. How do we incentivize?
A lot of it could be the city, because we have little plots that are right now undeveloped.
Right.
Are those 80 units just, they're gonna be rentable, or will the landlord be able to sell them?
So with the specific grant I'm talking about, it's that you're getting funding for most of the construction and rehab. And so there's a deed restriction that has to be rented affordably. I don't know about the selling piece, but I also imagine it have to be affordable.
Right,
I think it'd be a little odd to sell something in your backyard.
Deed off.
Yeah, yeah. So I imagine it'd be rental only. But unless someone has a more creative
I was
idea.
surprised to see that Habitat only requires 10 years.
Yeah,
before you can sell.
yeah.
That's a good mechanism.
Yeah.
If you want to do this, you're incentivized to do it, you have to do it within 10 years, or it's like a mortgage that pops up if you try to sell it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you, I just wanted, like you said, there are a lot of little plots of land, right?
Mhm.
So, I volunteer at the high school, and I was wondering, the high school, if some of the students could be involved in like, learning some building trades.
There's a man right there.
Will you have a program, Nick?
Yeah. We have, this past summer, we had 4 high school students who came on to build huts and worked as apprentices and worked. Actually, this summer, they're specifically working on the housing initiative for Hudson Dots, working on affordable housing for them, renovating houses in town. But new construction, ADUs, that would be even better when you do new construction, a small unit like
Yeah.
that. The learning, when you can see the entire arc of a building being built over
Right.
a few months, then it really is a lot of added value in that learning environment. So yeah, we're working on expanding that program for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
So the things I want to just throw out there to like percolate. So one of the things, that we do not have is any type of, legal representation for, like loan tenants facing like eviction court or something. We're supposed to be covered by legal aid out of Albany, and I have tried and been very clear that they don't have the staffing to help us. And I've tried to get legal aid from Dutchess or Ulster, and they're not allowed to help us, because the funding is only for their counties. And so I'm wondering, it's not a high volume thing. And the biggest issue is finding attorneys who want to do it. Like I've spoken to our judges and attorneys, there's just not a lot of attorneys who do it in our area. You do? So I think the thing is maybe if we knew people who were like open, who were good at this stuff, if we had a small fund so that if someone does need legal representation,
Great idea.
as a Band-Aid, like my
Can we
long-term plan,
Is it legal for us to do
I
that?
don't know. Right. That's the tricky thing, because it's
Yeah.
like, I wonder if it was to go through a nonprofit or
Yeah, if there's a
something.
nonprofit that it goes through.
Yeah, so if, I don't know, Promise or someone had an attorney, like, we could do it through them or something like that. It's definitely a thing where cities can't have eviction prevention and like cities provide attorneys, but like us specifically,
Right.
we have to figure it out. the longer term thing is that there is money in the state budget for us to have legal representation and we're not receiving it.
What do you mean us?
At the city
County
level or county level? Okay, county level, yeah.
And
That's
that
amazing.
has a lot to do with the fact that no attorney who's got law school debt and everything wants to work for the fees they're paying at legal aid, or the salaries they're paying, from my understanding. I spoke to one of the attorneys and it's not a lot. So I think it's a bigger issue of staffing.
Get your brother up there.
He doesn't do tenant law. But I'm sure he can figure it out. But, so that's just something to think about, because I think there's gotta be a longer term solution. If there's money owed for this
Mhm.
program, and if it's going to legal aid, maybe it needs to go somewhere else, but in the meantime. Yeah, the longer term, I want the county to also call me up, because a lot of the eviction cases aren't in Hudson, like, I can't help anyone in Greenport. But something for us to think about, if we had good attorneys, what would it cost for them to
Does
cover?
this fall
I
some-
wonder if they could, oh, go ahead.
DSS?
They don't have to write any legal representation. And like, we have a lot of really good social workers from DSS, from Catholic Promise, who will go to court, but they're not attorneys.
What were you wondering?
If the money could just go right through the county and supplement the existing wages, so it's higher, so
Interesting,
that it could, so that then it's all of a sudden, oh, well,
yeah,
if it's that much, I'll do it.
right.
And then you
Again,
don't have to go do a work through anything, you just
Yeah.
go right from the city to
And
the county.
who would be in charge of this? Would it be somebody in Albany? I mean, who?
so I guess the shorter term thing would do it quicker, local, faster. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right,
if we just
sure,
found an attorney
sure.
in Columbia County, we had money, we had the organization. People have some kind of representation over the next year,
Mhm.
but down the road, like, it's not okay that this system isn't working the way it's set up.
Right.
So
You have a
that's.
good relationship with Bob Gibson,
Mhm.
because even if it's not through DSS,
Yeah.
he would understand the mechanism
Right.
from his time as an attorney
Yeah.
Oh, right.
for the county to, I bet he would be the one who could tell you how to, if there was a way to do it with the county.
Okay. The other two projects to throw out there.
That's a great idea.
I don't know what the timeline is with the housing authority, but if there's some kind of hole in the budget with the rehab, this could be a place that could help, not a big one. We don't have millions, but if there's a $50,000 type of thing or whatever.
I
like,
definitely was thinking it. I didn't think I could bring it up, so great idea.
I mean, that does, if there's a place for money to help, I'm sorry, I've been here 11 hours now, my words are leaving, but you know what I'm saying? This would be the fund probably.
You'll probably start saying that gun was sold. Right,
Yeah,
the gossip's joke.
Would it,
I'm not
are you saying
saying-
that targeted towards redevelopment or how about this is not as we have this long time?
if there's, I don't know, if
That's
there's
a big deal
some
about
kind of clear, specific need from the housing authority over the next, it could be something for this year, or it might be next year, we do the whole thing, something to think about, I think.
And how much, I know it's not a lot, but how much do you think,
We have 85,000 in the budget now for the project funds. I think we gotta think about like, what's the farthest stretch for other projects. I know that, I'm not gonna call it a gaping hole, but it's a hole that will never be filled. So I think the question is like, what could be, is there some kind of immediate or short term or like some kind of pre-development thing that's useful, so you got a loan, something like that. We can't cover a huge gap.
I'll get back to you shortly.
Just something for this side of the room to think about.
Yeah.
And then the third thing I wanted to throw out there, so it's are you guys okay staying for an extra 10 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Thanks for checking.
yeah. And then, yeah, 5-10 minutes. So the Community Land Trust, quick summary, I know some of you attended some very involved with attending info sessions. They're making a community land trust, a new nonprofit, working with partners around the county. So Columbia Land Conservancy, CDC, just regular residents. So it's a new nonprofit, but it's going to serve the county to permanently hold land for homeownership or affordable rentals on top. We've won 3 grants. They just applied for a 4th grant today. And so we incorporated in November. We're about to put in our 501c3 stuff to be officially a nonprofit. And we're looking at acquiring land for a pilot project, this year. Ideally, I would kind of push for us to have like a rural project and like a Hudson project. And there's some benefit in the sense of some of the state funding for home ownership, like the minimum is 4 units. So if we had 2 units in Hudson and 2 in New Lebanon or Canaan, like, you know, we could get that funding. And also just from like a project standpoint, like, I think it's important for it to be geographically diverse, whatever, but, we are, some of the steps that we're on now, inside building up the board and building up organizational capacity, just applied for a grant today from Berkshire Taconic to fund Hudson River Housing to do like a development site analysis. If we gave them 10 sites to go look at, can they give me a report of how feasible is it for development, what other, and Hudson River Housing, no,
Yeah.
pick 10 sites in the county.
I'm counting.
So maybe 3 are in Hudson, somewhere. And they could give me a report of what's needed for development, and I can
Right.
figure out what's financially feasible. And then we have 20,000 from the state that we won that could then do like engineering studies, architectural stuff. So then if we go into acquisition, we know it's worth. Or we've gotten some donation offers, and I don't want to accept a donation that's actually going to be like a sinkhole.
When?
Yeah, land donation and
In
housing,
Hudson? No,
not in
I
Hudson.
don't think so.
But what I want to do is keep Hudson like on the table for me.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about, are there sites that we could acquire for low cost? So for example, like there are some small sites on State Street that could be that for sale, $60,000. Some other ones are pretty low cost, like not a lot in the city, but there's some small ones.
Mhm.
And potentially this ones could purchase a site here, and so we're able to do a pilot project.
Those are the lots.
Buildable lots, yeah.
That would be awesome.
And then we can actually have a portfolio in Hudson.
Mhm.
And the thing is that once we get some stuff built, it's gonna go a lot quicker to build more things. So that's the other pitch, that I want to throw out there. Those were my pitch ideas, and anyone else wants to put any out, you're welcome to do so.
I like the second one a lot.
Also.
First one, I'm not so sure.
Okay, can you just run down the 1, 2, 3 again?
Sure. Well, there's 4 to put out. One was maybe not a ton of money, but at least programmatically working to increase Section 8 certifications and landlord knowledge. Number 2 was legal support for tenants. Number 3 was helping HHI with their rehabs. And then number 4 was acquisition of a property from Community Land Trust. Also, so
Wait, well, specifically at the land trust?
Yeah.
Say it again, I was.
acquisition of a property.
Acquisition of the property in Hudson.
Yeah.
Tom got.
So, I think that what we can do is I'll send this out, and then you guys can kind of send me some follow-up thoughts or questions I can gather for more information for our March meeting.
Sounds good.
Which leads me to the final point, which is